This season, the Pacers had the highest offensive pace in the NBA, building a scheme around running and gunning with every opportunity, while their current playoff opponent, the Knicks, had the slowest pace in the NBA, operating in the half court and using up as much shot clock as it takes to get the shot they want. That's quite the clash in style, and naturally that led to a ton of fans leaning into the cliche on how the game slows down in the playoffs, giving New York an overwhelming advantage. But what happens when the game doesn't actually slow down? The first possession of the series was pretty much what we all expected, the Knicks using the entire clock for a Jalen Brunson isolation as he goes to some crafty footwork and finds space for a turnaround jumper. Then it's only when they're able to turn defense into offense, like this block from DiVincenzo, that they're gonna run in the open floor. Hart goes wide before finding a rim-running Hartenstein for easy points. Of course, the Pacers immediately get into some quick ball screen action, and Halliburton draws two before leaving it to an open Turner in the middle. Although he doesn't hit the jumper, Nesmith gives the Knicks a taste of their own medicine. Most of Indiana's half-court offense starts with some sort of screen for Halliburton. This time Siakam slips it, and there's a miscommunication with the coverage, so he's left with all the time in the world from up top. Their bread and butter, though, are those early attacks. Even when the defense appears set, they'll find a way to get downhill and apply pressure. Then from there, it's all about making the right decisions, this one leading to another high-quality three. And in order to create these opportunities, it requires closing possessions. So Miles Turner's job on defense was to not let Hartenstein create second chance opportunities by any means necessary so that they can grab and go. It goes without saying that in order to get a defensive rebound, it requires a missed shot, and Jalen Brunson made this as difficult as possible with his 10 first quarter points. As I mentioned earlier, although they're very half-court oriented, whenever their defense creates a chance to run, they're gonna take it. This time it's Brunson who scoops up a loose ball, and he's gonna take it all the way himself, throwing a nasty misdirection to draw contact and get to the line. But what they showed during these first quarter minutes is that they're also not opposed to the idea of speeding up their own offense. They set that high ball screen early in the shot clock for Brunson to get downhill, and from there he can hesitate his way into an open floater. Whereas most teams try to avoid the back and forth game with Indiana, they not only obliged, they actively invited it, and I'm sure that had to be a little jarring for the Pacers. Running is what they want to do, but when the other team that typically plays slow also wants to do it, without sacrificing their transition defense, it's gotta be a little strange. Still, Indiana was able to create plenty of good looks early on. The problem is that they shot just a measly 37.5% from the field. That isn't just role guys either. When Halliburton tried to take it upon himself to get points on the board, he too struggled to find the net. With that said, whenever he set up some ball screen action, the Knicks continued to put two on the ball, conceding the advantage and forcing other guys to make plays. On this one, the result is a wide open TJ McConnell in the corner, although he steps on the line so it's only 2 points, and next time down they run it again. 2 on Halliburton, top it in the short roll, he makes the right read, but Jackson misses a freebie at the rim. The theme, though, remained those early attacks from both sides. Josh Hart's eyes lit up anytime he saw an opportunity to start a drive, and the same goes for TJ McConnell once he checked in, hitting Brunson with one of his own signature moves as he clears the lane for a layup. But Hart just refused to be outran. Once again, he sees a lane and completely sells out to get to the paint, only this time he draws help, so he kicks it back out to OG, who's left with a corner three. Like clockwork, McConnell immediately does the exact same thing, starting on a drive, drawing help, and finding a shooter, as Indiana finally starts to get some efficient shooting. As I said, the key to all of this is closing possessions on the glass. Isaiah Jackson makes sure to put a body on Robinson, while Siakam also helps crash from outside to secure the ball, and from there they can do what they do best. Everyone takes off in transition, and it's a 4-on-5, so somebody has to be open. Anything you can do, I can do better was the motto of Josh Hart though, and he takes off down court like it's a 100-meter dash on his way to some more points. That takes us to the closing seconds, and McConnell continues to get into the defense, this time for a mid-range jumper, as we arrive at the end of the first with the Knicks holding a 3-point lead. The second quarter was a stark change in tempo. Literally, the game actually slowed down a ton, and when OG tries to score in isolation, he gets blocked, which typically would lead to a fast break, only the Knicks recover and commit a foul to stop the clock. Next time down, OG's gonna once again try taking his man one-on-one, and while using his pivot to search for an angle, he gets stripped. Then it's Brunson's turn to play one-on-one, and the possession is so slow that when he shoots the ball, it's to beat the shot clock buzzer. The Pacers respond by playing until the end of the clock themselves, and Nembhard's gonna go to a step back midi, which doesn't drop. 2.5 minutes into the quarter, we finally see a transition bucket, and it's Jalen Brunson who attacks downhill for a big body finish. Indiana didn't use that opportunity to run though. Instead, they get back into their half-court offense, which ends up being a Nembhard pick and roll. He hits Isaiah Jackson in the short roll for a drive that once again barely beats the shot clock buzzer. Now imagine if I told you that the Knicks also run the shot clock down to the end. Brunson comes off a screen himself, and with a step back he takes McConnell's ankles, but is unable to convert on the mid-range jumper, to which the Pacers finally grab and go. Siakam's gonna attack the middle of the floor, and he finds a streaking McConnell who has a lane to the rim. Like I keep saying, the key is securing those defensive rebounds, and next time down they're unable to do that as Josh Hart fights to keep the ball alive. Then after some beautiful ball movement, OG ends up with a great look from the top of the key. That prompted Carlisle to get Miles Turner back in the game, and right away his impact is felt on a big time block at the rim. With Hartenstein down, they have a numbers advantage, so they start to run, and Halliburton also checked back into the game, so he can control these fast break possessions. When he's on the floor, the Pacers don't really have a choice but to play with pace, both for better and for worse. And Josh Hart is more than okay with that, because even while leading the playoffs in minutes, he's got more than enough energy to engage in this style of play. Indiana comes right back down with an early ball screen, which Halliburton uses to get into the defense on a drive, and after applying that pressure, he kicks it back out to Turner on the pop for a wide open three. Like I said, this level of speed can be for better or for worse though. This time it's McConnell, and he gets blocked at the rim, which leads to a chaotic and messy pursuit of a loose ball for both teams. When the Knicks set up their offense, they continue to use the entire clock, and on this one, Turner's actually forced to pick up the ball on a switch. When that happens, I want you to focus on how all 4 of the Pacers' wings crash to put a body on Hartenstein. That's how you close a possession. As for their own half-court offense, they waste no time setting up the Halliburton ball screen. Siakam's gonna slip the switch, and he catches it with a lane to the rim, or they could run through Siakam with one of his mid-post isolations, and even against one of the league's best wing defenders, he's able to create a good look. That was actually the theme of this quarter for Indiana. Whether it was in the half-court or in transition, they created good shot after good shot. Here it's an open 3 from Turner that just comes up short, and so next time he catches it with space to shoot, he instead decides to attack on a drive before scoring through contact. It's important to note that during this time, the Knicks were still getting points on the board, getting decent contributions from everyone, but anytime they did, here came the Pacers with one of their quick attacks, not letting the defense settle for even half a second. As a result, New York couldn't afford any empty possessions because Indiana was in their flow state, the running and gunning that fueled their offense all season long, and they definitely couldn't afford to turn the ball over, as that just gives the Pacers even more reason to run. There's no stopping them in a 2-on-1 situation. By the time the last possession rolled around, they had jumped out to a 6-point lead, and when Halliburton sets up the ball screen, he calls his own number with a step-back 3, knocking it down to put them up 9. Only for Isaiah Hartenstein to try a 3 of his own from 50 feet, which hits nothing but net, so it's a 6-point Pacers lead at the half. Hartenstein kicked off things in the third quarter as well with a drive. He draws help and kicks it to Brunson, who swings it to DiVincenzo for a warm-up jumper from 3. After that make, the Pacers waste no time getting into their offense with a 70-foot pass from Halliburton that immediately puts the defense in rotation. With some sharp ball movement and decision-making to keep the Knicks scrambling, it eventually finds Siakam in the corner for a great look from 3. Then New York does what they do best, or in other words, they let Jalen Brunson cook. He gets into the defense on a drive and finds Hart down low for points at the rim, and before you can even blink, the ball is already back on the other side for a Siakam isolation as he slowly works his way to the paint for a turnaround jumper. If you couldn't tell, these 12 minutes were pretty much an offensive shootout, but not from the guys you'd expect. For the Pacers, it wasn't Halliburton or Siakam, it was Miles Turner who scored 13 points, most of which either came in the pick and roll or taking advantage of mismatches in the low post. And for the Knicks, it wasn't Brunson, but DiVincenzo, who shot 6 of 7 for 15 points, including everything from drives to cuts to spot-up threes. They also got contributions from both Hart and Hartenstein, and this connection between the two actually gave them a 5-point lead. That's right when Indiana's bench unit started to take over. This time it's Obi Toppin who leaks out for one of those outlets, and in the half court they go back to TJ McConnell as he blows right by Hart on a drive and finish. On defense, he was absolutely hounding Brunson at the point of attack, using his lateral quickness to cut off any and every attack angle before taking a swipe at the ball to force a turnover. I think you know what that means for the Pacers, but I'm not sure anyone was ready for Toppin to pull out his signature move to put them up 7. And while everyone's busy reacting to that, who else but Josh Hart to charge into the defense with speed and find the open DiVincenzo for one of his 5 3-point makes. After getting a stop on the other end, Hart continues to lead the break, this time with a kick ahead to Dante, and it's a race to the rim for 2. A quick 5-point swing makes it a 1-possession game with a second to go, and of course Miles Turner hits a 3 at the buzzer, giving Indiana a 5-point lead with 12 minutes to go. Right away, it's McConnell who continues to make things happen. On the first play, he brings full court pressure and forces a turnover, which they then take advantage of with an open corner pick and roll that results in a trip to the line for Siakam. Without Brunson on the floor to start, the Knicks had to find another way to create offense. On this one, it's a pick and pop that leaves OG with a great look from 3, only for the Pacers to match as Siakam collapses the defense before kicking it out to Toppin, who's left on an island. When Hart initiates the offense, he's going to continue attacking the rim, but Isaiah Jackson's able to get a hand on it from behind, and it lands right in the hands of TJ McConnell, who's going to take it coast to coast like a 6'1" Giannis as his layup puts Indiana up by 9. That's when Brunson re-entered the game, and right away he works his way to the middle of the floor to earn a pair of free throws. But the Pacers made it clear that it wouldn't be easy because next time he attacks, Isaiah Jackson picks up another big-time block from behind. And he still had to deal with the pesky McConnell all up in his airspace, so it's a tough floater that rims out, which is when having an offensive rebounder like Robinson comes in handy. Hart takes advantage of the second chance opportunity with a drive and dunk. All of the Villanova boys were getting involved at this point. If it wasn't Brunson, it was Hart. If it wasn't Hart, it was DiVincenzo stepping into a transition 3 to cap off an 8-0 run. Then it was time for Halliburton to check in, and he too makes an immediate play in the pick and roll, where one more pass out of the short roll results in points at the rim. Personally, I was a bit surprised that the Pacers took TJ out of the game at this point, and you can see the difference when Brunson gets back into his bag, easily getting around Nembhard for a goaltend call. Then on the other side, you have Aaron Nesmith receiving a handoff and turning the corner on a drive of his own before taking off for an absolutely ridiculous dunk. Still, this fourth quarter had Brunson's name written all over it, utilizing the mid-range for bucket after bucket. Then when the Pacers sold out to not let him touch the ball, Hart took advantage by attacking space on a drive, and with a tough finish, he's got 2 plus a foul. He misses the free throw, only to follow his own miss for a second chance and 2 more points. And I just truly cannot get over his effort level. He played all 48 minutes, grabbed 13 rebounds, got to the line for 8 free throws. This dude was battling. Not to mention, the Pacers had no answer at all for Brunson. When it's Nembhard, he faces up and shoots a 3 right in his grill. Then when they go to Nesmith for a little more size, he uses his speed to get the step on a drive, where he draws contact for some more free throws. Now we're all tied up at 109 with just over 3 minutes to go, and Halliburton's expecting a roll, so he misplaces a pass, which bounces right into the hands of OG, who's already starting in transition, and once again the Knicks take the lead. Speaking of OG, his defense down the stretch was nothing short of remarkable. Next time down, he stonewalls Siakam in isolation, and once you start to get stops, you can lean on Brunson to bring the game home as he continues to torch from the mid-range. A play later, the Pacers go back to denying Brunson the ball, which leaves Hart with a lane to attack, and he continues to get to the rim, but this time turns it over. Like I keep saying, that's the worst thing you can do against this team, and some fast break offense ties it back up at 113. Of course, the Knicks are going to continue clearing out for Brunson to isolate, and this time Halliburton traps him for a deflection, which was initially called a reach-in foul. After a challenge and quick review though, it was determined to be a clean strip and Indiana ball. Now it's Nembhard who plays one-on-one, and he attacks DiVincenzo on a drive to get the lead back, only for Brunson to do exactly the same thing, getting into the paint and spinning into a short jumper. After a quick change of possession, we arrive at the most controversial play of the game. The Pacers put 2 on Brunson and his pass gets deflected by the hand of Nesmith, but the refs mislabel it as a kicked ball, and per the rules, you can't challenge a kicked ball violation, so what would have been a turnover and very likely 2 fast break points to take control of the game ends up being a reset of possession, where Brunson once again kicks it to DiVincenzo, but this time with no deflection, and it's a big time 3. If you're a Pacers fan, I sincerely apologize for how brutal this is. A potential 5-point swing in a matter of seconds due to something out of the player's control. Still, that doesn't mean Indiana's out of life. Siakam quickly attacks the rim for a tough finish to cut it down to 1, then Brunson finds himself in an awkward spot on the sideline, tries to throw it off Halliburton out of bounds, only for the ball to ricochet back off his own body, meaning it's a turnover. 15 seconds remaining, a chance to take the lead. Miles Turner sets an illegal screen that essentially seals the game. After that, they're forced to foul, and the final seconds for the Pacers don't exactly look too good, as the Knicks squeeze out a 4-point win to open the series. Brunson had himself a night with 43 points, making him the first player since Michael Jordan with 4 straight 40-point playoff games, and while he rightfully stole the show, don't forget about those other Villanova guys. DiVincenzo had 25, Hart had 24, 13, and 8, and as I keep saying, he was the key in matching Indiana's pace of play. So while the game might slow down in the playoffs for some teams and players, it didn't in Game 1 of this series, as New York jumped out to a 1-0 lead after beating the Pacers at their own game. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn my post notifications on to be first on more content. If you're interested in my more in-depth research, make sure to check out my website and social media profiles. You can find those links in the description. Feel free to let me know down in the comments what you thought of this game. As always, I hope you all have a great day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.